I don't even remember the exact comment. Somebody made it, and before I realized it, I'd done chimed in along with it and kind of had adopted that mindset. I'd reality, I guess, thought that yeah, he's probably not real because when I really needed him most, where was he at?
Correct. Yeah.
When in reality, I can look back now and be like, well, he was right there. That's why I escaped the situation. I escaped the way I did,
Yeah.
without any harm or anything, so to speak.
Isn't it crazy being sober minded now, seeing the Lord, and then you look back and you tell your story, or you just take time to take a glimpse. You're like, man, he was always there.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Hey guys, thank you for joining us for another episode. Welcome to the J Cruz podcast, where we're sharper together. I'm excited for my next guest. All I really know about this brother is that we're in the same ministry, Make War, and you're going to keep hearing about this ministry. Not because they sponsor us or we're trying to grow them, but it's just like the group of individuals I'm surrounded by, and a lot of these men have taken up the calling of God that carry the cross and move on. And this is one of my other brothers who, for the very little time that I've known you, you're just hungry for the life change and you want to maintain it.
Mhm.
So without further ado, this is my brother Chris, and tell me about yourself. Tell me about you, who you are, your family, what you do, and then we'll get into the testimony.
So my name's Chris Wheatley. 42 years old. Have a wife, Stephanie. Have a daughter, Kaylin, and a son, Coleman. Been in the towing business for roughly 20 years. Also do some custom woodworking, cabinet working inside. Mainly just been in the towing business.
Yeah.
So it's offered me a lot of different scenes in life, I guess you could say. A lot of different things I went through with it. But
Okay. So I mentioned, we met through Make War. Like, how do you get there?
oh, it's actually it's pretty funny. Been going to First Baptist Spartanburg downtown for 4 or 5 months at the time, and went to the men's conference at Anderson Mill back in
Okay.
February. Really enjoyed that. The following week, had invited my mother-in-law actually to go with us to First Baptist, and she informed us she had found Anderson Mill. Had been going there and asked us if we wanted to go, so we did, and was trying to be there a little bit early because kind of known for being late for a lot of
Yeah.
stuff.
Okay.
And so trying to get out the house that morning, well, I had a accident, woodworking accident, I guess you'd say, with some epoxy or whatever. It took me a few minutes to clean it up. It's kind of aggravated because I was behind now. But when I got there, I ain't been in the front door long, and Jared and Alan walked up to me and wanted to know if I wanted to join their men's group. Make it work. I'm explaining it to me.
Were they
And
strangers to you, or you knew who they were?
oh, I'd never met them.
Yeah.
I mean, literally walked in front doors in the mill, one of the high top tables over by the cafe. Kind of set my Bible down, was talking to my wife.
Yeah.
She was trying to get in touch with her mom so we could get met up to go inside, and they just walked right up.
Did you happen to have a Bible in hand?
I did, and that's what Jared said. Alan kept on about my boots, but Jared said, you had a Bible in your hands, so we wanted to come up. He said that's kind of a prerequisite. They, or at least for him, usually, ask somebody. And really, before he could even give me an explanation of what it was, I was just like, yeah. I'd been looking for something that was 1st of March, and I guess my rededication, you could say, was 1st of October. So I'd been trying to find somewhere for a few months, and I said, yeah, really, before I even got the full rundown of what it was.
That's awesome. It's funny that you said, because that is a not prerequisite. Jared's calling card
Yeah.
is, we're gonna find you a guy with a Bible. And you know what? I was actually thinking about that, because I'm actually not the best when it comes to Make War. I'm not the best on uh, finding new individuals, of like walking in and just like, here, you got to go to Make War. I think my very first time it happened this last Sunday. But I'm like, I tend to find the guys that have already been around. I'm like, come on, we
Yeah.
got to get you in. But I was wondering, I was like, man, I wonder why he does the Bible. And I was really thinking about it, and I should ask him. Yeah. But anyway, here's what my conclusion is: they bring a Bible because they either really want to understand it, or they bring a Bible because they're trying to overcompensate.
Yeah, that
That's
makes
been my
sense. Yeah.
conclusion. You know, like I got my Bible, leave me alone, or I have my Bible. I wish I knew how to use it.
Well, I was about to say you could almost feel like there's people that maybe that's the things they feel like if they are seen carrying it, maybe
That you're all right.
that they're all right. Maybe nobody will stop them to bother them, or I mean, like we've talked about, the whole F word at church. But
Yeah.
everybody's fine.
Yeah.
It's like I got this. Maybe I'm fine, and hopefully people don't maybe stop them and
Right.
bother them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree with Alan. So far, so I'm Mexican, right? I was born in Mexico, and there's a point to this. uh, my wife, my mom has always tried to get me to dress more Mexican and where I'm from, where we actually wear cowboy boots and the whole belt with the with forget I don't know what it's called, the
With the
buckle,
buckle.
the buckle. You know, and I've never been about it, and then I moved to the South, and I see it more often, and I assimilate to my culture, I assimilate to my environment. And last year, I was finally contemplating, like maybe I should finally get myself some boots. I'm here in the South, and I don't know if I really want to do this or not, but anywho, brother, and you walk in, I'm like, you know what? I'm about to. Okay, okay. I'm about to go ahead and give me some new jeans because right now, the jeans I currently wear, I can't put a boots through it. I'm gonna get myself a little buckle and let's go. So you make it look good, so good that you've convinced me, man.
Well, I appreciate it.
But anywho, so these guys they hunt you down, they find you, they invite you. Um, how was the what was next? What's next in your life?
Um, it was I have to say I was so eager to say yes that I really which I don't know. I don't know how much Jared actually went over with me. I mean, I know he was kind of going over the stuff, but like I said, I'm just like yes, yes, yes. But want to make sure he knew that I was good for it.
Well, why? Why were you so yes, 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 yes that you don't even know what he actually told you?
I just need to be involved. I can't call it mission oriented, goal oriented. I was the same way in competing later in life. It's like I have to have something to keep me on the track, so to speak, something to strive towards. That's I mean, almost a missional goal oriented.
Hmm.
Otherwise, I just knew it'd wind up being one of these ordeals. Like at that point in time, I was on fire for it, seeing the life change that I'd had, and I felt that if I didn't, I was just going to close
Okay. What was the life change that you had?
it.
I want to know what led up to that point that make war was the addition, not the necessarily the life change. You just said I didn't want the life change to fizzle out. But I don't know what that is. I don't know your story.
So we're starting from you want to start from the
Let's
beginning.
go.
Uh, all right. I grew up. I grew up in church. We went 3 times. I give you 3 times a week was the normal. Anything extra, we always went. Was saved and baptized somewhere around the age of 8 or 9. I really can't remember. And to be honest with you, kind of like looking back at it now, I almost wonder if that was even. I hate to say it, I almost wonder if that was even real
Yeah.
because the experience I had in October this past year, I know it was real. Like, there's no doubt about it. It was real. But at, at about the age of 12, I had an ordeal. I don't know how to word it. Kind of came face to face with the devil, so to speak, maybe. Um, was in a position where I was tried to be taken advantage of. Thankfully, I was able to talk my way out of that predicament and kind of just forgot about it.
Hmm.
Thought I forgot about it. Went through the rest of my childhood fairly normal. Like I said, just trying to kind of push it out of mine. And got to high school age, got to doing a bunch of drinking and partying. My brother was a couple years older than me. He was in a fraternity at USC Upstate, and they were kind of known and legendary for throwing these big parties, and I was all in with them. Which kind of later on led into some, I guess, probably helped lead into some drug addiction issues that I had from probably senior year of high school. I wound up with a neck injury from playing football.
Okay.
Wound up from that point forward being pretty heavy on opioids and pain pills. And it went on for the next few years. During this time frame, I would meet my wife, but not in the way of like we started dating.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of being in proximity of each other around. And wasn't too long after that we started dating, and drug addiction's still there, kind of hiding it from everybody.
It was at that point, was it prescription drug or a combo of both?
It was prescription, but it wasn't prescribed to me anymore.
Right, and no longer. Yeah.
No longer prescribed to me. But of course, I was mixing alcohol on top of it, and really, even a few years ago, thought it was just that was didn't realize I was, I guess, masking things I was trying to mask. But she confronted me on it before, and of course the whole I'll stop. This won't happen again. Not knowing it was going to be as hard as it was, and of course that didn't last. I don't know how much you know about opioid addiction, but the withdrawals that your body goes through, it kind of makes it hard just to be like, hey, I'm done with this. So kind of continued on with that. Got even worse with it to the point of snorting Oxycontin 80s on a daily basis.
Wow.
Multiple times a day. I think the real hit home for it, and this is one of those ordeals that's embarrassing to admit, but it is what it is. I remember my son being 6 weeks old, being in the hospital with RSV, and just kind of had this. I'm in the bathroom of his room in the hospital. Here he is, 6 weeks old, IVs everywhere and all,
Fighting for his life.
Fighting for his life. I'm in here in the bathroom, chopping up Oxycontin 80 on the toilet lid of the cup. And at that point, I was like, this is something's got to change. Something's got to give.
Yeah. I think you might have a problem by that.
Yeah. it was full-fledged problem.
Were you guys married at this time?
This time we were, yes. It
Okay.
was. So he was. She became pregnant with him. We'd been married right at about a year, so we're close to
almost 2 years.
Close to 2 years at this point. And it had got to the point where prior to that, I knew it was a problem. I knew I had to try to get away from it, but I was also scared that if I admitted it, that I had still been doing it, she was going to leave. Because she had made the comment she would. So I really kind of got caught with what it was. I'd pulled some money from the account, whatever story I gave her didn't match up, and she confronted me on it. And to this point, I was just kind of like, it is what it is. Either she's gonna stay, she's not gonna stay, but like I can't stay. So I wound up. My mom was able to reach out to my brother's ex-wife at the time. She did some, or does some. She does some drug addiction counseling and stuff.
Okay.
And so she recommended a place in Greenville to go, and wound up being a great place. Had at least at the time, I had some faith-based stuff to it. It wasn't just a.
Which one is it?
It was the original name was a New Crossroad. It was over in Easley. I'm not sure. It's the gentleman who owned it. He's since retired.
Okay.
It's been taken over the thing, but
Time for it. I was just curious.
Yeah, but it was better than just like she didn't want me to go to, and not that there's anything wrong with it, but she didn't want me to go like to the methadone clinic or something where it was just like getting in line and there really not being a, hey, this is why or how to help get out of this situation, right, or whatnot. But, so my wife later on that night wound up calling though and was like, I was staying at my mom at my parents' house, and she had actually asked me to, come back. I was in such bad shape that it was like, I don't know if you've ever dealt or talked with anybody that's been through opiate withdrawals, but it's absolutely horrible.
Yeah, I've dealt with individuals who've had withdrawals in general, and it's like they're almost possessed.
I always said I this might sound a little harsh or too real, but I always said I never could understand like people suicide. But that's a horrible feeling, man. And to not know when it ends. I mean, it's like you're so exhausted that you just want to sleep, but you can't sleep. I mean, you feel like you've been asleep 3 or 4 hours. It's been 2 or 3 minutes. You're about to burn up, but yet you're shivering. Skin's climbing. It's a horrible, like your body's almost fighting itself. But went the next day, kind of got on the right path, and everything started going good as far as that aspect. Wound up. Of course, one of the things is that they talked to us about was you can't have you don't want to have any free time. Idle hands, the devil's playground. So got into doing a little kickboxing and MMA.
Okay.
And it's funny because at the time I can't really, I guess, put my finger on why I did certain things. Of course, I can look back now and see where everything all led from. But through the process of doing that, I really loved it, really enjoyed it, but wound up getting over into weightlifting aspect of it. My brother had been doing CrossFit, and so I kind of started doing that with him, and wound up transitioning over into strongman.
What year is this?
2013, 2014.
All right.
Yeah, about 2013. So 2014, we did a CrossFit style strongman competition for a fundraiser in October 2013. Through that, the promoter tells me I'll try strongman. Me and my brother sign up for a competition in North Carolina in February 2014. Was my first one.
Okay.
And thought, oh man, I'm finally doing something productive with life. And I'm not. It was still productive, but it was almost the start of another addiction.
Yeah.
Be it my personality, whatever. It's kind of I'm going all in.
Yeah, fitness and macros and micros and numbers and kilograms. Give that to addictive man, and it becomes addiction.
Well, it's one of those out there, when you're especially it's so much different from. I never wrestled in high school or anything. I didn't have it when I was there, but I'd never really done the whole individual sport. And when you're out there individually, and there's nobody else to blame for your shortcomings, losses, wins, whatever, you start to put a little more into it because you don't want to have anybody, or anything to try to blame it off on. And it just, flat out came an addiction. I was gym 3-4 hours a day, multiple days a week. I know for a fact business had to suffer because of it. Thankfully, still got, same guy still there that has helped carry a lot of that through that time. But just wound up, and it kind of became all about me without me realizing it. And it became one of those ordeals where I felt I was the one who put myself in all these positions. Wound up, I actually had an injury right before the first competition, had a yoke come apart and ruptured a disc in my neck. And didn't realize
now your second neck injury, right?
Do what now?
This is now technically your second neck injury.
Well, the first. Well, no,
because football,
right, because I actually landed basically in football. I flipped over, landed flat on my head, and kind of bruised some stuff through the area. Never really had to have any surgery or anything from it, but so this now I had a ruptured disc, and it had caused my left tricep to basically be paralyzed. You want to say like the disc was blocking, somehow touching nerves, and they were fired.
You said that you got injured, second disc.
Oh yeah, injury. So excuse me. So yeah, then wound up because it wasn't causing me any pain or anything. The only thing that was affecting was my overhead. I said, well, I'll still just go and do the competition. You got 5 events. One of them's overhead. I might say that's only 20%. So, we'll see what happens.
So,
Well, I came in second. And, I couldn't believe it. It was great. Wound up going and having surgery. Was able to do it without having to use any pain pills, which was amazing. And that was in July of 14. First competition I came back to was South Carolina Strongest Man in 2015, and against a pretty stacked group of guys, actually wound up winning the competition.
Wow.
Through that, the doctor who had done my surgery had reached out to me. He was the owner in a company that supported mostly MMA athletes, but wound up getting a sponsorship with them out of it. A few smaller clothing companies, and things seemed to be going great. And it was really, I guess, all just going in my head.
Yeah, it's all about you.
And looking back now, I can see it. I didn't feel that way at the time, but I just kind of felt like it was all, I did it all. I'm the one who put all the time in, the effort in. There was even a time period during then that I actually even said I didn't believe in God.
Well,
They got brought up at a get together one night at our house, and I realized that I'd done chimed in along with it and kind of had adopted that mindset. I'd reality, I guess, thought that he's probably not real, because when I really needed him most, where was he at?
correct. Yeah.
When in reality, I can look back now and be like, well, he was right there. That's why I escaped the situation. I escaped the way I did,
Yeah.
without any harm or anything, so to speak.
Isn't it crazy being sober minded now, seeing the Lord, and then you look back and you tell your story, or you just take time to take a glimpse? You're like, man, he was always there.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That's me and Jared was talking about this morning. It's like the more down the line, I guess, I get, the more I can look back and kind of see it all clearly. And it's almost like from that point as a child, when that happened, it was a situation where I felt helpless, and that's the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to feel helpless again. And so it's like looking back, oh, I'll learn how to fight. I'll get big and strong. And thinking that I could take care of myself, that I knew better, but in reality, that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
I even had an ordeal throughout the strongman days where I didn't feel I was getting the attention that I should at home, and so I sought it out elsewhere. Thankfully, it never got any further than some conversations online that I shouldn't have had, but I had them. My wife found out about it. We thankfully got through it, and things seemed to be going good. It wasn't long after that we wound up moving. She had to have a lower back surgery. The gym I went to and the guy I trained with, him and his wife were separating. Her business being at the gym, he just kind of walked away, and gym kind of died out. And at the time, I was like, this is probably a good thing. I'm just going to walk away from it too.
During this moment in your life, was the addiction? Were you under any influences, or was your the gym and the strongman took over that addiction per se?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the gym and the strongman, and it was just, and it's like I said, it's just one of those ordeals. Anytime I do something, I feel like and I think people close to me attest to it. I'm an all in kind of guy. That's the only way I know how to do it. Really, either I want to be all in and do it as best I can, much as I can, or I don't want to mess with
Yeah.
it type thing. And that's been hard. Like, I mean, I don't even steadily work out now. I almost know what happened in that past life and how vulnerable I was to some things. So I just decided not to even really get back into it. And it was just, like I said, more thinking I was self-made man, and I had done everything.
Okay.
When in reality, all of it was him and his glory.
So you were saying your wife had surgery, the gym fell through, you gave up
Yeah.
on strongman, or you decided to move on?
So I just, just kind of stepped away from it. Oh, maybe I'll still help out with this or that, but I didn't want to be involved fully in it anymore. It was one of these, I felt like for all these years, my wife had been such a great wife, stood by me through everything, all my screw ups. And at this point, I was like, I really, it needs to be about her. And that's the path I was on. I felt like, but it was one of these. Then I realized now, I can't be the best husband for her if I'm putting her first and making her my object of worship, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
Um, so May of 2023, so I walked away from all that in 17, the end of 17. So it was about a 5 year span. We just moved into the house we were living in, and I just, it's kind of like, hey, I'm gonna be the best husband I can be for her, and we'll see where life goes. And we'd always had a dream that we wanted to own some land, build a house.
You got
And
chickens?
Not yet.
Not yet. My wife wants chickens.
The neighbor behind me's got about 40, 45.
Yeah, our HOA doesn't let us have chickens, so anywho.
Yeah,
that's my wife's dream is she wants land and chickens.
She can put some up there.
Yeah, if my wife wants chickens so much, she's like, I want chickens and then land. You're like, wait, what?
So we wound up May of 2023. I would have never thought it possible. We wound up buying 5.5 acres in Campobello. We didn't know how long it'd be before we start to build or anything. My son was a freshman at the time. And prior to that, I had told her, I was like, we might as well not even plan on doing anything until he's out of high school. I'm like, it's going to take at least that long to get it all figured out.
Yeah.
We bought the land in May of 23, and November of 23, we sold our house for way more than I would have ever thought. And everything.
You're welcome. And me, in behalf of all the Californians and New Yorkers and everyone who decided to cause some major inflation in the house market.
Well, we appreciate it. And what's crazy is the people who bought it only wound up living like 0.3 miles from where we were at the time anyway. It was just, looking back on it now, it was obviously an act of God, because when the realtor was like, yeah, we'll be able to get this, we're going to list it for this. And I'm like, you can list it for that, but we ain't get that.
Yeah, I'm not going to say no, but
a week later, and I think there was only 2 people. They had three showings scheduled, but they kept sending only 2 people. Well, the first showing was a lady. She had basically came and put an offer on it, and then the third showing that night was her bringing her husband back to let him see what she had put the offer on. And I mean, they wound up buying it, and the process started. And builder we went with, it didn't make life easy by any means. Some people closer to me kind of know the story. I don't really want to air it out there for everybody, but just had a lot of trouble. I'm the kind of guy, I don't kind of troubles we had. I just don't deal with it very well. Just dishonesty, disrespect, and I was just about to lose my mind with it. But at the same time, I also had something going on at work, and I couldn't put my finger. Guy who'd been with me for like 20 years, I could just sense there was some tension. But prior to this, so after I walked away from strongman, I'm gonna step back from it. My son started playing volleyball, travel club, and all that. So through his club, I met a buddy of mine, now very, very dear friend of mine. His son was on the club, and we got to be real close. Got to where we started duck hunting together, and probably about a year after knowing him, he started in on me about, he owns a landscaping business, and he has a guy who, and it's actually his neighbor now, but guy who basically runs the business for him, and he's still there, but this guy kind of takes care of operations now. He's like, you need to hire you somebody like that. I said, man, I'm not a 35 employee company, and there's 3 of us. So I was like, never work, won't happen. I'm telling you, man, you just need to trust me. You need to hire somebody. Okay, I kind of just pushed it off. So fast forward to July last year, and me and the guy who works for me kind of just sat down and got talking one day, and then to find out the tension was just a lack of communication. I was under the impression that he was kind of wanting to just do his minimum requirements and go to the house. Yeah. And so I kind of got to where I was like, that's fine. I don't need nobody. I've been doing it on my own anyway. It's thought process. Obviously, that wasn't true.
Yeah.
But so wound up, so we have a conversation, and he's feeling the opposite. He's feeling like he's kind of being pushed away, and he's wanting more to do with it. Which is funny because at the time I was wanting less to do with it, and anybody who knows me will laugh at this, but like I just wasn't never really a people person on the phone, and unfortunately, the towing business, that's
You're on the phone a lot.
you're on the phone all the time, and people
Short
first
and quick
impression.
and bye.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I just got to where, I guess, probably from everything going on in my life, along with the fact that the phone rings 60 to 70 times a day, I just wasn't pleasant to deal with. And I recognized that and wound up the guy kind of that from that day forward, after our conversation, kind of took over running stuff. And I found myself then with a lot of extra time on my hands. So I started working, doing a lot of work up at our property. When we bought it, didn't have to be cleared or anything, but it hadn't been bush hogging in like 4 years. Just trying to do some of the landscaping stuff ourselves to save money, some different things. So I got where I was spending a lot of time on property, and that's by myself. And I just got noticing, like during the day, I'd have all these emotions come over me, and couldn't really make much sense of it. And I'd come home about every day, and I guess my wife would just see it written all over me. And she's like, "Well, what's up with you?" I'm like, I should be happy at this point. Like, I got everything I could possibly want. It's like I'm just not.
Lord,
I just felt.
Lord was setting the stage.
Yeah, I felt empty. It was like, my whole goal was to try to be a husband that I thought my wife deserved. And it's not like I was doing bad at this point.
Right,
I felt like I was.
But now there's a difference.
It didn't
your
feel
strength.
It didn't feel real. You know what I'm saying? Like it was
performance.
Yeah, I felt like it was like at any time somebody's going to know this isn't real. Like they're going to be able to call me out, so to speak. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. And it just, I don't know, it just kept nagging on me. And, my whole past kept getting brought up to me. And I would constantly think, I'm like, I've had this happen, I've done this, I've been a drug addict, self-centered and arrogant, basically thought I was God. I almost felt like I wasn't worthy of it. Thankfully, during this time, I also have a cousin who was very heavily in talking to me about Jesus and church and all the things he knew.
Shout out to the cousin.
Yes, major shout out. So, kind of fast forward, I guess, a little bit from then to after Helene happened. Well, actually, let me take it back. Right before that, so I kind of eventually broke down and told my wife about the ordeal I had as a child. Trauma, whatever you want to call it. That was something I swore I'd take in my grave. Nobody else was ever going to find out about it. And she probably ought to talk to me about that. And I kind of,
Smart lady.
Okay, yeah, kind of nodded my head about it like I would, but
but not really.
But then I wound up. I actually did have a conversation with my cousin about it. And then when of course when I go to the make war and they're like, "You're all in testimony, be authentic," I'm like, well, here we go. I guess I'm not gonna carry this to the grave,
Okay.
But
so I want to put the blocks together a little bit. So from what I'm hearing is the way I'm seeing it and the way I'm hearing it for the very first time. Like, I've never heard your testimony before, not even a bit, other than Jared's like, "You're gonna like this guy. You got to get to know him. He's an athlete just like you." That's all he told me. I love athletes game. But you destroyed your life in a sense, heading down destruction. You were able to get it back together, but you got it back for yourself, and it was all strong, man, all about you, your name, your title, your image, your glory, your fame, to the point that there is no God, I am God. And the Lord dissolves the gym, dissolves the gym, and you go, okay, I guess I should focus on the next thing, make it about your wife, but in reality, it's still about you because now you want to have the title of best husband and whatnot. Then take some time away from you from work by giving more responsibility to the guy you didn't think that wanted it, all to get you to cut some bushes, make you deal with yourself,
Yes, 100%.
and then introduces a group of guys.
Yes. Well, prior to that, it was funny too because during this time phrase I'm talking about where I would come home and my wife would like I said, she could just see it written on
Yeah.
my face. She's like, you literally, what more could you ask for? So my cousin is I mean, we grew up together. Actually, when I moved out of the house when I graduated at 18, I actually lived with him for a year and a half.
Okay.
I mean, we're
You guys pretty close.
oh yeah, I mean
Yeah.
we're like brothers. Um, so during this past summer, as much time as me and him spent together, it was like I should have nothing to be mad about. Like everything's great.
Yeah.
Got some land, built a house, semi-retired, whatever you want to call it. Like don't have all the responsibility I used to. Hanging out with him, spending time together, but I still just wasn't
I'm assuming the
complete.
addiction was that bay
Um,
during that time, or
I, I guess I don't know. I get.
well, I mean, like you weren't using substances,
Oh
right?
no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
no.
yeah,
Yes, yeah. I'm sorry. But say about I mean the I guess the personality of it
yeah, yeah,
never
yeah.
goes
Of
away
course,
because
that's unfortunately going to be with you.
which I mean now I do have a new addiction, thankfully, a
Yeah,
healthy one.
oh Lord.
Yes, absolutely. Uh, but so Helene had hit, and basically some property my cousin had. We were gonna have his son's wedding rehearsal there. We had just kind of finished getting this property ready to go because
Mhm.
it was the end of October when this wedding was supposed to take place. And so I went down and helped him. Had a group of guys because a lot of businesses were shut down for that week for power and stuff. Went and helped him at the property. Out there 3-4 days, multiple hours a day, and come back one day and from lunch. I ran and grabbed some lunch. He went home and he gives me a box when I get back. He said he was going to wait and give it to me for my birthday, but he said something just told me to go ahead and give it to you. Pull it out and open it up. We'd had a conversation about something like this a few months earlier. He had bought me a watch made out of whiskey barrel staves. Actually matched a wedding ring my wife had bought me. And but on the back of it, it said Proverbs 27:17, iron
Iron
sharpens
sharpens
iron.
iron, and then goes from oof.
And then it said, love you, brother. And then I bawled like a baby. Gave him a big old hug. I don't guess he understood at the time what it meant. That was end of September. So it was a Thursday, actually. That Saturday morning, I wound up getting up a lot earlier than anybody else and started doing some paperwork for work. And huge country music fan, love country music. And
I would expect nothing less.
one of my favorite guys is Jeff Bates, and he went
I
from
know nothing country, so I'm gonna keep going.
singing your typical country music to more of a country gospel type music, I guess you'd say. But I had listened to it's funny I'd listened to his testimony he gave at a church in Alabama a few years prior, and it actually told my cousin, I was like, "Hey man, you ought to check this out. It's really good testimony." And something just told me to go back that morning and watched it on YouTube on TV. And he went from
Something is known as the Holy Spirit.
yes. He wound up going from a life of drug addiction, stealing out of his best friend's house, guitars and stuff to support his habit, and wound up going to jail. And had basically come to Jesus while he was in jail. And his whole thing was, if this is your will for me to stay in prison and spread the gospel, then I'm fine with it. That's
game.
what I'll
Yeah.
do. You know, that's what I'm here for. And he was content with that. His lawyer came to see him a few days later, and in the time he was in jail and submitted to God, he had sold like 4 songs, and you know, he just couldn't believe that, you know, after he'd submitted that God, that how everything kind of seemed like it was coming together. It resonated with me, man. I was like, maybe it come together for me.
Yeah.
So wound up messaging my cousin and was like, hey, you know, what church service you guys go to? You know, so he tells me, so I'd love to have you. And wound up going. A little nervous, a little weary. I mean, I hadn't been to church in years prior to that. Honestly, was kind of scared I might puke demons or something. When I walked in, it'd been a while. And sermon was on forgiveness,
Rightfully so.
because I had a bunch of hate built up. A bunch. So much that my wife even said she could see it in my eyes, which that bothered me. So I went, went to sermon, sat there just hanging on every word I could. At the end of it, they had a altar call, and before I could even, I guess my cousin could just see it written all over my face, and he said, you know, do you want to go down to the altar? I'll pray for you. I don't know if I said
Yeah.
and didn't care who was there, who saw him. It didn't at that point I didn't care. It didn't matter. Like I saw what the other guy had, what it did for him. I felt it moving, and I submitted right there.
And that's the October 1st?
October 6th or 3rd.
Yeah.
First Sunday of October. And so started, you know, from that Sunday on, it started going, you know, regularly. We're going. It's funny, my wife didn't go with me that Sunday.
Was this last year?
Yes, just this
Oh,
last
I got
October.
to know.
I think it's the 6th.
Six, yeah.
Okay, it is 6th. Okay.
I was kind of rooting for the 3rd because it would have been great that God reached you on my birthday.
Okay.
I'm like, come on, Lord, do some work. But 3 days later,
So my wife didn't go with me that first Sunday, and I come to find out when I get home that afternoon, it's because I guess when I told her the day before I was going, she just was kind of like, okay. I guess figured out, you know, I'd sleep through it, would make up the alarm or whatever. And but following Sunday, she started going with me. We weren't able to make every Sunday. Like I said, my son playing volleyball and traveling. But so then we switched over to Anderson Mill through the course of events, and it's the first time being at a sermon there before I even went to Sanctuary. It's where I met Alan and Jared to meet the guys, you know, or to get introduced to Make War.
wow, man, that's so good. How just God. I like I don't know what word to use, but the normalcy, I guess I'll say, the normalness. Like, let me step back. I think we're so used to hearing testimonies, and we just hear like the high points of it. You know, I love that you went through the detail of the normalcy of it. Like, hey, now I was good for 4 years. Hey, I was good for another 2 years, because that's really like what everybody's life is like. And when we hear testimonies, especially like, you know, from a country artist or the altar or something, they're the sped up version of
Right.
things. But I hope people, our audience today, can hear the normalcy that they might be in the normalcy right now, where God is just setting up the platform
Right.
for that October 6th. And then, would you agree that after October 6th, would you feel like it's been now a sped up in your transformation?
Yes, I feel like I feel like the transformation really, like, caught traction, I guess you'd say, though, on March 24th.
That's a perfect word. Traction. Yeah.
March 24th. That was because when Jared and Allen approached me that Sunday, I knew it wasn't the next day wasn't going to be the first class, but I was like thinking, okay, well maybe it's the next Monday, but it was actually going to be like I think 3 weeks. Well, yeah, because it had been the first Sunday in March because we were there, so about 3 weeks
Yeah.
before class started. And I mean, I texted Jared a few times before it even started. I mean, just kind of like eager to get started.
Make sure you didn't miss it.
Yeah.
It's not tomorrow, right?
And it's like I told him the first class session, table session, it was almost kind of a little bit. And we mentioned to you earlier, a little bit of a embarrassment, I guess you'd say. I was like, 'cause I grew up in church. I was there
Yeah.
a lot, but I didn't know anything. I didn't know God. I didn't know Jesus. Especially like I do now. It was life changing. Just to be around a group of guys like that you can be authentic with, guys that live by the Bible, not some form of Jesus, I guess, that some people make up to fit for their life.
Yeah.
Um, but it's made a huge change in me. Like I said, we were still, even after that, we were still going through the building process, and even just the way from that point forward, the way I handled things with the builder. I mean, it went from we had one issue where he kind of like got mad and bowed up at me to I just really don't think he could quite comprehend he was talking to the same person.
Wow.
It was mentioned Monday night's group session. The peace isn't the absence of conflict; it's actually having Jesus in the middle of conflict.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can testify to that. It's that's 100% real because I have more peace in my life now than I've ever had, and probably through the first part of being born again, I was in some of the most chaotic life scenes that I've been in. But knowing that he was there, I hadn't worried.
Yeah.
And it was either he was going to take care of it, and even if it wasn't the way I wanted him to take care of it, he was going to take care of it in the way that best fit or suited me.
Yeah. The peace that surpasses all understanding.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I feel like people closest to me have even noticed it. I mean, I've tried to live it 100% from that day forward. I mean, obviously I haven't, none of it perfect, but I've definitely tried.
What do you think outside of the Holy Spirit? 'Cause obviously, the Holy Spirit is the one that does the work in us. Um, but what do you think is that cemented that life change and you not wanting to let it go? Was it so much the make war? Was it brotherhood? Was it uh, the structure? Was it like, what clicked?
Yeah, I don't know that I can put my finger on the absolute like moment,
Hmm.
but it was definitely the make or work. Seeing there were other people fighting every day too, knowing that you had somebody that you could be honest with, that wasn't gonna judge you. Uh, People that willing to help me learn stuff that I felt like I should have already known, answer questions that you might think are dumb to ask. I don't know, man. It's just it's something about when you get a group of real men that want to love on you and help you, live your best godly life you can live.
Did you think it was weird that the way these other men were helping you in your life is by them exposing the fakeness of their life and wanting something different? Because if you think about it, I'm obviously in the Make War ministry. I'm one of the leaders there, and we have a format, right? We truly believe that the best way that you can trust me, and not in a manipulative way, but the best way that you can trust me that I also want the best interest by me telling you all
Right.
about
Right.
the ugly part.
Well, 100%, because then I know that, like, at that point, you're fully invested for no other reason than to help me. Like, there's nothing you're gonna gain by putting your deepest, darkest secrets out there to me. You know what I'm saying? To me,
Yeah,
I mean, the authenticity of it's, I don't know, man. I'll ever find it.
yeah, and that's the reason why I bring it up because I believe that is the most powerful thing. Because it's not per se. I was talking to Matt about this. I had him on the channel. We talk about this often. It's not that we figured out anything ground changing.
Right.
It's not that we are teaching a new angle of the Bible that's never been taught before. No, no, no. It's not. It's not that. But I think we've understood, and this is the heart behind this channel too. Is just like before I tell you anything, I want you to know who I am. I want you to know my story. I want you to know how broken I am, how broken I was, how broken I continue to be. I want you to see the life without Christ and life with Christ. Two common denominators is I'm still broken and he's still good.
Right.
And that's why I believe that one of the most powerful aspects that we do in Make War is the all-in testimony stories, and that every leader, we try to do the best that we can with sharing our story. We keep it very minimal, um, but because we kept it very minimal, has brought this hunger, desire of why I'm having this channel. It's like, well, these stories change people's lives. Like right now, I pray and I know for sure that when someone's listening to this episode, you are part, whether you know it or not, your story is part of their life change. And then when they come and have their one-on-one with Jesus, they're going to be able to say, man, there was this guy named Chris in this podcast, and it literally, I felt like he read my mail, you know? And that is the most powerful thing that I believe we've lost in the church. And it's not a knock against the church. It's just, it is what it is. But we walk into a building every Sunday, not truly knowing who we're sitting next to. And on top of that, probably honestly, if we're being honest with ourselves, not really caring. We probably care more about like, man, what are they wearing or where they're driving or whatever it is, unfortunately. Um, but to hear going through and meeting so many guys that want the Lord and hearing, yeah, I grew up in the church. I grew up in the church. I grew up in the church. There's been this alarm where it's just like, why go to church? And there's a lot of people there that grew up in the church. I didn't grow up in the church. I grew up, anywho. But how many more Chris and Jared's and Jay Cruz's and Allen's and Matt's are in there who are just doing it on their own?
It's sad to think about like that. It really is.
Yeah. So then how's life now?
Life's great now. It's, I almost can't describe it. The difference of it.
It didn't get easier, right?
Oh no,
Yeah.
no. But it's gotten better, and it's made me better. And I think part of it, like you were saying a minute ago with the with the church, I think too a lot of it is there's the mill's not this way, but churches that I grew up in and stuff, they weren't really preaching the Bible. They were preaching how they maybe thought it should be interpreted, so to speak.
Yeah.
But it's when you take the instruction manual, the living word, and you read it for what it is, and it's so crazy how what it applied to then still applies to now. It's, I used to always think I didn't understand it, but I guess I just didn't want to understand it because it's nothing. It's just it's there.
Yeah.
It's black and white.
I don't know if you're
red.
Yeah. We like the red letters. I don't know if you remember this, but there was a few Mondays ago that I overheard you saying something along the lines like, man, I've read the Bible before and I finally understand it.
Oh yeah.
That's wild, huh?
It is. It is.
It's very hard to explain because I agree. Like I got saved at 17. And it was legit. Like I got saved legit at 17. Unfortunately, I wish it stayed legit the whole time, but it is what it is. And I've obviously read the Bible, but I never understood it. It was never speaking to me.
Right. Well, I was about to say, I think that's the difference. I was telling Jared this morning, me and my wife been watching The Chosen.
Yeah.
And we were on an episode last night. Jesus and John the Baptist were talking, and I don't know exactly what led up to it, but along the lines of, I tell stories that some people will understand, because I think he asked him why he told stories. He said, some people will understand them. He said, others won't.
Yeah.
And I just kind of chuckled. She's like, why is that funny? I was like, it's true. I was like, it's so true.
Yeah.
I was like, it's easier to understand it when he's in you, because he's speaking it to you.
Yeah.
You don't have to understand it. He gives it to you.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It does, yeah. And this is why we believe in the power of the Holy Spirit, where if it was up to us, we could have understood it from the beginning.
Right.
If it was under our understanding, if it was what we learned from school and grade school, but no, this is knowledge, this is wisdom, this is a truth that we need the Holy Spirit 100%.
Oh, absolutely.
But we also need to make sure we're not grieving that Holy Spirit so we can continue to understand it and continue to listen to the convictions and continue to move on and doing the work that he's called us to do. But when I heard you say that, there was so much joy when I heard it. Because I'm just like, that means the translation that went in my brain is he has a relationship with Jesus now.
Oh, absolutely. Close one.
Yeah. How has it been fostering that relationship? Because you still have the flesh. The flesh is still there. I'm sure it still wants to do everything it possibly can.
It does.
Probably even more now.
It does, but then there's also that, which I mentioned this Monday night when we were talking in our smaller group, or even before that. I've just always been a big actions speak louder than words kind of guy. I don't feel that I articulate stuff very well. So I always just felt like it was easier to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I realize now, I can't be one of these guys who says one thing and does something different. So try to live by it. It's not easy. I mean, I don't get it right every day.
Yeah.
But thankfully, we have his grace and his mercy that we don't have to.
Yeah. I'm worried of the days that I get it right every day.
Do what now?
I'm worried on the days that I get it right every day.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Usually when I go a few days, I'm like, man. And don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that life's supposed to be so miserable and difficult all the time.
Oh, no.
But when I go like a week or so, it's just like, I don't know. It's just been smooth. I tend to come to the Lord. Yeah, I tend to come to the Lord. I'm like, hey, I've been leaning on my understanding and I've been just seeing what I want to see, or am I missing something? And the word speaks, and it's just like, yeah, I wasn't, my eyes weren't open to what you were showing me, because those tend to be a little more more friction, and it's interesting that there's this balance and this tension, that it's not that life's supposed to be difficult, but that life's not also supposed to be so smooth. And there's just supposed to be this ebb and flow of friction, kind of like iron sharpening iron, but like between you and the Lord, where it's just like, okay, if this is too hard, I need to ask why. If this is too smooth, I need to ask why. And both these scenarios should draw us closer to the Lord and be like, hey, am I good? Am I out of bounds? That makes sense?
Yeah, oh yeah. No, I've found that when I have the, like you're talking about, spells of days where I feel like I'm doing everything like I should too, I'm also usually probably not around as many people.
Yeah.
Because people can push buttons and get you wrong and all, but it's not been easier, but it's been worth
Yeah.
Every single bit of it. Like I said, just I have, and I use this phrase all the time. I mean, I have an inner peace now that I've never had before.
Mm, I
And
agree.
even to that thing that used to be the thought of dying, like I just couldn't even grasp it. So I just didn't think about it because I was just like, I couldn't imagine everything just ending. But it's like there's a piece in that too, man.
Yeah.
I mean, because I know I'm not. I know I won't be dying. Temporary nap, whatever you want to call it. But I'll be with him.
Yeah. So I got to ask this. I like to ask this to my avid lifters and athletes. Do you see the correlation of your spiritual growth with strongman, with bodybuilding, with training the body? Has the Lord unlocked that for you yet?
As far as training the mind?
On just how training yourself spiritually is no different.
Yes.
No different than preparing for a strongman. And preparing for CrossFit Games.
You got to put the time in. You can't. I mean, like you were talking about the other night with your equipment bag and the different shoes.
Yeah.
And strongman. I mean, I only had lifters or Converse All Stars. But you got. I mean, you got to be prepared. You got to spend time in the Word. You got to do your reading devotional. You can't. You got to put the work in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you don't, you're not going to get the fruits back out of it.
I have a hunch that I don't have the research of this, but it's just a hunch. I have a hunch that those that deal with faith and works don't know what it's like to work out. Truly work out. Not like go lift some weights here and there, but grilling workout. You're running out of gas and you have to believe you can get through it. So you have to keep doing what you've been doing, the works, and that faith of knowing that, well, I've done this a bunch of times. Sure, different circumstance, but I'm going to push through. Like that's faith and works, baby.
It is. Yeah, I never thought about that.
Listen, man, you'll get me excited. I love working out. I love it more than I've ever. I love it more now that I'm CrossFit retired than I've done before. And I hated that my foot was broken because I wasn't able to push myself. God has, more often than not, 2 out of 3 times, I'm just throwing a ratio up there, just a number. When I'm doing a grilling workout, man, does he speak. He speaks to me so clear in regards to faith and works, in regards to what his work does. Like just yesterday, I was finishing my workout and I had a little bit left in the tank, and I was just like, "Nah, it's too hot outside. I don't think I'm gonna push through." Instantly, weirdly enough, I feel the conviction of spirit. He goes, "That's what the enemy wants from you." And when you read into my word and you feel like you got enough and you got more time and you decide to go do something else, you could go deeper. So what I do? I kept working out. Let's go. I'm going to go until I absolutely could not go anymore. And when I was done and I'm huffing and puffing and I'm sweating and I work out in my garage, I got no AC in there, the spirit just speaks to me. It's just like, always bring that level with me, with him, and it's like, that's what working out does for me. Like, it's like, I get excited when a athlete who has that dog in them comes to the Lord, because I'm just like, when he unlocks that level of hunger that he had for fitness, because you had your diet dialed in, you knew what you were supposed to do, you had your rest dialed in, you had all this stuff. Take that, put that in the spiritual, man. Oh,
yeah. I mean, I had a guy that because I didn't claim to know the most about exercise science, however you want to word it. So I had a guy who did all my training programming, nutritional programming. Yeah, you put that kind of effort with replacing it with guys like you, Jared, pouring into you, helping you, and with that same dedication, like I said, same dog in you. Yeah, it's
yeah, man. Well, I'm grateful to know you. I know we're going to spend a lot more time together. One, because I want to, you
absolutely.
know. I am. Thank you for sharing your testimony, and your story just getting started. I know it is, you know, and I can't wait. In a personal level, and you know, maybe we'll have you back too, and just see where life is. Because you know, one of the few things I want to do with the channel is not just share testimonies, but then have those individuals come back and be like, "Well, what's life now?" Because every Christian technically has a testimony, but unfortunately, they're not living off of it anymore.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, "Oh yeah, I came to the Lord 10 years ago. Cool. What did you do last year? I mean, what did you do yesterday? What do you mean? What did you do yesterday? What did he tell you yesterday? Oh, well, Sunday service was phenomenal. Dude, it's Friday. What do you mean Sunday service was phenomenal? Right? But so far I've seen in you that hunger of like, nope, this is now my new addiction.
It is.
Where I'm gonna move everything I possibly can to get to the word, to get to my brothers, to be at church, to love my wife through Christ. You know, I'm assuming to parent through Christ as well.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see what God's going to continue to do in your life.
And I'll tell you what's funny that you say that was I spent those 4 to 5 years trying to be this best husband for my wife. And I think she would agree too that since October, especially since March, when I make war, once I started living for God and putting God first, how much better then my marriage really got.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she wasn't first; he's first, which then in turn I put her first. Under that, but it's just amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. It's the way it's supposed to. It's the way it was designed.
Yes,
you know, it definitely was. Man, anything else you want to add, or you ready to get off the camera, huh? You did great, man.
Here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, but thank you, viewers. Just remember, a living life alone is super dull, super dull. But when you have a brother, we're stronger together. Iron sharpens iron, right?
Absolutely.
All right, well, tune in for the next one. I pray this blesses you, and that this spurs you to find brotherhood, to find a relationship. And maybe you're not at the church you're supposed to be. Maybe you are at the church you're supposed to be, and you got to go reach out. But if you don't have a community of brothers, I hope you find one. If you got to want it at the end of the day, you got to want it just like everything else. But God bless you guys. I appreciate you. Love you. Later.